we're back. Now, Linda, before the break, you started to get into where you thought the gay movement, where you thought it was in Bermuda, and what you're beginning to see where it really is. What was your revelation?
Well, I mean, prior to this whole debate about gay marriage, I really thought we were getting to a place of understanding and acceptance on a much broader scale. And then the whole topic of gay marriage reemerged as the information sessions came. And at the first information session we had, I actually got up and spoke, and I made a statement that I want to get married. And as you know, it was on the front of the newspaper. So from there, the experiences that I've had, though some have been very positive, a lot have been negative.
Would you mind sharing some of the negative?
Well, I mean, there was one point I was walking in town. People who know me know that I like to walk in town and still physically pay my bills and go around. And this one woman came right up to me and said, like, "You're going to hell. Just straight up, you're going to hell." And I've seen some shifts in the comfortability that people used to have with me, because now it's like you have to take a side. You either have to be for or you have to be on the religious side. And so that has now created a greater divide on the topic. Mm-hmm. And I've called for this, I did a video on my Facebook page recently, and I talked about having the uncomfortable conversation. And I think that's what we need to have within our families, within our homes, within our workplace, because people they're afraid of what they're not comfortable with, mm-hmm. one, and they are now starting to look at people closer. So anybody that falls into the so-called signs in terms of dress and behavior, and they're in their family, now they're starting to turn the spotlight on them. And I think now that's what's made it kind of surprising.
So how do you respond to someone that says you're going to hell?
Well, I have to remember that my first reaction, I have to remember that, I have these titles now. And last thing I want to do is locked off.
No middle finger.
Yes. I have to remember that.
But do you respond?
Well, my initial reaction, I think, was, well, I would be surprised if I don't see you there. But I thought that would be inappropriate, right? So I just said, well, thank you. But what I would like to do with you, ma'am, is have a conversation. And when you're ready to have a conversation, you come and see me.
How old a woman? What age group?
She's, I would say, close to maybe 60.
Okay.
And I found that very brave. And also, there have been times that I've been out and, guys have said inappropriate things to me, or, people have said, this one lady, I was at a function, a children's function, she was like, oh, gay people shouldn't be around children. And I was like, clearly you're uneducated, because the stats will show mm-hmm. that when it comes to molestation, where those stats point to, right? So, I'm not used to that, because I'm very close with my niece. We mm-hmm. have an amazing relationship, and so I worry that she would be exposed to that negative talk.
I was going to ask you, because with your niece and your nephew, granted your niece is about 6, right?
7.
And your nephew's early 20s?
Yeah.
How have they dealt with it? I mean, is the conversation, does your niece know that you're gay? I mean, you're Auntie Linda, but do you have to have a conversation, or does a conversation have to be had with her so she understands where that negativity may come from one day for your aunt is a lesbian?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I learned from going through it with my nephew. And I mean, not just because it's my nephew, but he's a very broad-minded young man. And I'm very proud to say he's also open-minded. He accepts people as they come. And so I knew that I would have to have that with my niece. And I'm very open with my niece. She's around. She sees my relationship. She sees me being affectionate when she's around.
Some people probably just cringe. When you say she sees you being affectionate, she sees you kissing a female?
Yeah.
And you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that, and she's okay with that, because in the course of our relationship, she I think, and I'm blessed that my niece loves me. And so when I was trying to hide, and whenever I go to that spot where I question it, she reminds me, I absolutely love you, Auntie. Mm-hmm. Because in those moments when I think it's going to be awkward, she continues as if nothing happened. And that's why I think it's
So
what
we can learn a lot from her.
Yeah, it's what we put on our children. It's how we react. I don't make a big deal out of it. She doesn't make a big deal out of it. We move on to the next moment. And I think that comes from the dialogue that we've had with each other over the course of the time. I mean, even when I end my relationships, and I think this is important too, I have a conversation with my niece so that she knows that this person may not be around all the time like they used to, but the relationships that she built with that person
Maintain.
has nothing to do with my relationship
So
with that
you
person.
know, Linda, like straight up, that there are some people who are screaming, throwing stuff at the TV, saying,
Absolutely.
how could she be so disgusting in front of her niece? Now, what do you say to some, because one of the prevailing comments I kept hearing is gays can't adopt because if gays adopt, then the child will automatically be gay. What do you say to people that levy that criticism?
I give you the example of my nephew. He's well balanced, he's educated, and he is a remarkable human being. And he's been around a gay aunt all his life. All his life. He's seen my relationship, and he's seen the good and the bad. And he's been there. And so what we've taught them is that family love and that person that's always going to have your back, that group, that circle is your family. And they're not perfect. And they have good and they have bad, but we're still together. And if I die tomorrow, I know that my niece understands that. And so it's not about her just judging me, but she's not going to judge other people that fall in other hate groups, right? And for me, that's what parenting is, right? Teaching your children how to be open-minded and accepting of human beings, right? I don't go around and say, hey, like that person because they're gay. I say like that person because they're a decent human being. And whatever bad side they have, then you judge them according to that, whether they're heterosexual or gay or anything else people choose to identify as. I think that's important.
Now, what do you think is one of the biggest myths that people have about lesbians?
That we want to convert all straight women.
In
fact, I'm converting you right now. You don't even know it.
Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, we'll be right back. After the break, we'll talk to Linda about the same-sex symposium in a little more detail when we return.
In the New Testament, men shouldn't lie with men. They use that as their Jesus saying that homosexuality was wrong. Of course, that's all debatable, but I have no interest in the religious argument on this topic.